Hello friends, Tiffany here. Welcome to my quilting life. Today I have quilting the Dresden idea number 4. So here's the Dresden. Everything's the same on all these Dresdens except for the border and center fabric, and I love this one. This one came out cool. Anyway, so we're gonna start off same with always, except today I'm gonna be using my Handy Gadgets straight edge ruler, and I'm going to stitch in the ditch to start around the edge of my border. And I still have yet to decide when I wanted to quilt there, but I guess I can just go ahead and start with at least the stitching so far. And those that are new to my channel, I'm quilting on a King Quilter 2 Elite special edition. It is an 18-inch machine on a 12-foot frame. I am using color number, it's Isocord color number 1904. It is red. It blends very well. I will turn the lights down so that you can see as best as possible, I should say. And yeah, let's just get to it. So let me put the lights down low. There we go. And hope that you can see. And I'm quilting 10 stitches per inch in precision mode because I want the needle to stop when I stop, since I'm doing ruler work anyway. So I'm stitching in the ditch first. Stopping in the corner, turning my ruler. My stitch in the ditch, like I say in every video, it doesn't always land in the ditch. It's kind of sloppy, but that's okay. If you are anything like me and have eye problems of any kind, you'll have trouble focusing on where your needle is actually landing because there's a bounce, in the quilt. So you just have to watch that. I mean, it's never going to be perfect. I don't think any quilters are super pristine perfect. So this is just the general idea. So I'm going to stop right here, tie it off, and then I'm going to move into stitching in the ditch around the red because I'm getting all that done first. I'm just going to come to this side. I always go from the right to the left unless it otherwise seems like I need to change out. So now I'm going to do around the red. And on none of these quilts I have quilted in the white area. I kept all that open because it's very small and it's a really tight sashing, so I did not quilt purposely in those areas. Alright, so now I need to really come to a decision on what I want to do in the outer border so that way I can quilt it down before I do anything else. So I guess what I will do is pause and think about it for a second. Okay, I've made a decision. I'm going to use my Piece and Quilt 4-in-1 ruler, and since I know how big these borders are on this quilt, because it's 25 inches on the inner side from point to point, I just need to put 3 of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quilt an oval from the outside of my ruler. I'm going to drop my needle, pull up my thread, drop my needle, I'm going to line my 4-in-1 so that it lands in the edge. So I need to come like a stitch down this way. I want the other side to land in the edge. I'm lining up the line on the ruler just like this, and I'm going to quilt to the other side. Just like that. Oops. I'm going to snip my original thread, and then I'm going to do 3 across the top, and then the sides will have 3 and the bottom will have 3. So just like number 1, except I'm going to fill it in differently. So I'm going to line up the line. And put the last one in, lining up the line. It lands right in the corner where I want it. I'm going to put the next one in on this side now. Adjust the ruler so that it goes to the corner. And now I'm going to switch to the other side of it. Actually, I'm just going to go this way. So I'm going to do feathers that go like this. They are not touching each other. They just come to the middle, and if I don't think I'm in where I need to be, then I use my ruler to stop myself. And one right there. Follow that end. And then I'm going to just continue to keep going the direction that I just quilted those. So I'm going to keep my ruler right here to stop me from going too far. Do the next one, and I'm just using the ruler to keep me from going into the white because I have issues. Coming to the next one. Next side is going to go upside down now. So let's make sure I can even do that. And I can. Okay, so now that is stitched, and what I'm going to do is bring it down to here, and I'm just going to put some lines around the outside like this, and I'm going to go pretty far on these. I'm going to go 3/4 of an inch, and then just follow my line it up, follow it along. Oops, I'm really sloppy with this today. need to turn the ruler around, it probably will work better. Really sloppy with this today. Ooh, I can't believe myself. And then I'm going to put a straight line here to separate this. Come around the top and start it fresh here. And in this circle, what do I want to do right here in this center? I don't know. Let's put a heart. How about heart? There we go. Good enough. So now you could either use the ruler to follow your line. That's a lot of turning back and forward. 3/4 inch. Follow my stitch line. Take it slow. I'm gonna just. All right. Just trying to be super careful. And I'm going to put the rest of this part in fast forward. Now I'm switching back to my Handy Gadgets ruler because I'm going to start doing the red area. So what I'm going to do in the red area is I'm going to cross hatch it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to start right here in this top corner. And I'm going to take this top corner and I'm going to use my ruler. It has lines on it. You can see. I'm going to use the 45-degree lines on the ruler to line up right here so it's landing in this corner, and it looks like it's going to land right here in this crease. So I'm going to take and stitch down to that, keeping my ruler aligned just like this. And then I'm going to just go along the outside of this guy, and I'm going to line up my 3/4 inch line, and I'm going to cross hatch. So I'm just lining up the 3/4 inch line on the ruler, and I'm going to go back up the other side. And then I'm going to stitch over in the ditch, line up my 3/4 inch line again, making sure that you could see up here it's a nice straight line, my 3/4 inch is a nice straight line, and stitch down to here. And we'll go around the whole entire Dresden as soon as all this is stitched. So now I'm going to find my next furthest away to get to the 3/4 inch line, because I'm doing that all the way around. Take that up here, stitch over until it's on that line again. Following the stitching out here because this hasn't been stitched down yet, so I don't have to worry about that at the moment. We're just kind of creating the start of it. So I'm going to go over until my 3/4 inch line is lined up on my previous stitch line. And I'm just going to keep doing this until this whole section. And if you don't want, you can just turn your ruler as needed for straight lines around the Dresden. This process is going to be very lengthy, cross-hatching all this. So I need to come down this guy a little bit and come over to this one, lining that up. Follow the ditch. So again, all I'm doing is following my stitch lines. So like this one right here would have had a line right here. And I went out of my markings accidentally, but that's because I was not paying attention. So again, this one's going to cross over, but that previous line was in the Dresden before it. So this one looks like it's going to be going all the way across. So I'm going to line that up. Line that up. Take it all the way across. And then I'm going to come down just a little bit. And I'm going to go the opposite direction. So I'm going to line up my 3/4 inch line from the opposite side so that it meets up with that other line. And I will have to go around the Dresden while I'm at it. I just need to come down just a smidge. I'm using my ruler the opposite direction now. So I'm going to hold it, or attempt to hold it, on that line. Stitch up to the Dresden, just like that. And I'm going to go around the Dresden and meet up where that line was going to cross over here. So I'm going to just line this up. So this is going to be the part that takes the longest, is filling a Dresden in like this. So this line now meets up with that line originally, and then this line is going to have a little crossover again down here. It's just tiny. It's probably, nope, see, it's probably not even going to go. Yep, it's not going to go. So we're going to take ourselves out of this. We're going to come down, and we're going to make our way back out to the outside because I'm almost within my throat space. So I'm going to line this up, and you can see when I line my edge here, this edge should line up too. So we're going to take this out, lining that edge up. It's not perfect on this one. Okay. Nope, that's not it. I'm going to pop that stitch out. Pop it out, pop it out. Didn't land where I wanted it. So that easily came out because I barely stitched anything. I'm going to put this down in here. It's the only bad thing about stitching with my opposite hand. Come about right here. Line this up, line that up, hold it down, stitch that, come along the Dresden, reline it back up so that it continues the rest of the way out. Right there. So this is going to be a little on the tricky side. Lots and lots of work. So, and lots of backtracking. I'm going to go back this way now. And now I should be able to start going this direction with my ruler the way it's comfortable for me. And I'm getting stuck. There we go. Line the ruler up. over. Hard in this lighting because I got you guys on the dim light. So now that I'm on this side, I'm going to recross hatch over this whole entire thing so you can see my stitching. I can barely see my stitching because I'm in light. You guys are in the better light. So now I'm going to start from this corner because I've made it to it, and I'm going to come down here at my 45-degree angle to wherever it lands right here, and then I'll fill in the bottom real quick and then come up around the Dresden and fill in the other side, and then we'll turn around and put this in fast forward in a few minutes. Let's just do this side first. So I'm going to line up my 45-degree line and make my first move down this way. I'm going to follow the Dresden out. We're going to do the same 3/4 of an inch marks. So now I'm just going to come down this way. And they should be about at the end of every previous. So we're going to come down here. So it's going to come right there. Lining it up. Right there, right there. Come down to about right there because that's where it's lined up. And I just hit a bump, which is usually my ruler base is what I usually hit, I think, when I go backtrack that way. I hit the ruler base where it connects with my hand. Okay, so I'm going to line this up now. We'll go a little bit further down. And line this up. And then I'm going to take, instead of backtracking all the way, I'm just going to tie off here because I have so much stitching already around that red. I'm just going to tie off here, put myself right here, and start going the other way. So we're just going to follow this stitch over to about right there. I'm going to cut my thread, and then we're going to line up the 3/4 inch line and start stitching the opposite direction. So follow that up, line it up again, stitch, go over, so you can't go no more, line it up, and go. Line it up. My lighting is really hard to do this for you guys to see, but I can barely see. So my line is kind of look like it's crooked, but it's really not. It just looks like it because come over till it's 3/4 of an inch. Follow this. And it's going to come out from right here. What it is I have glare that you guys don't have. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in fast forward, so I'm just cross hatching the whole back. now that I have done some cross hatching and I've already followed this top portion, I'm just going to stitch around the Dresden right along the edge. Since I've already been stitching along it anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and stitch around it all the way now for any incomplete areas. And then we'll move on to inside the Dresden and then go back to the cross hatching. So we need to advance in a minute. So I'm just going to stitch around this. This is a lot more heavier quilting, so there's a lot more quilting now. So I'm going to go as far as my throat space will allow, which is right here. And I'm going to leave the needle down right here, and I'm going to advance the quilt so we can start on the Dresdens. Okay, so now that I've advanced it and we're just still sitting here, I am going to stitch in a ditch down towards the center, and we are going to turn this into, we're going to split this up into twos. Oops. So I'm going to stitch down the center of this in the ditch, come to the center, and I'm going to find a ruler that goes around the center real quick. Let's see. This one will be good. So I'm going to go around this real quick first, and then I'll tell you what we're going to do. And this is my Versatool. It's also technically like a 4-in-1 because it has 4 different ways to do 4 different things you can do on it. Alright, so I'm back where I stitched in my ditch. Excuse me. So I'm going to split this into twos. 2, 4, 6, you know what I mean? So I'm going to split this into twos. So I'm going to start with these 2 Dresden blades that are further out that you can barely see. And I'm actually going to quilt in them this time. So I'm going to quilt feathers. They're not bump back. I'm not going to do bump back. I'm just going to do a feather, 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 just to fill in these 2. And then these 2 will have a feather. And I'm going to quilt down the center. And then I'll be stitching in the ditch around every single blade. But I'm going to do the feathers and blades all just, you know, I'm just going to go around and do that. So I'm going to take this now to the center right here and start with some feathers. They're not going to be perfect, let me tell you. So I'm just going to come around, make a feather. Come around, make a feather. And my center is the seam, and there's no stitching in it yet because when I get to the top, I'm going to come down it and then do the other side. So now that I'm here in the center, I'm going to stitch down it, and then when I come back for the other side, I'm going to go to this top point and then stitch down. Or to the top point and go to my next block. So I'm going to start by stitching down here first. I'm going to do my other side because I'm splitting this in twos. So make my little guy. You can see that they're not always touching my spine. So now that I'm right here, I've already done this spine, so I can either come up like this and either backtrack down, or I can go and get the next one by doing that. And I don't know if you guys saw, but I see it. See, there's a skipped stitch right there. Sometimes that happens, and this is because this has metallic metallic accents on the fabric. And sometimes metallic accents will catch the thread and the needle differently. So just because I'm going to go over here and I'm going to just cover over that where it came out. There we go. So I'm going to come over now to this guy, and again it's split into two. So I'm going to just do feather on one side, come back down the center, feather on the other, and then I'll follow around. So again, I'm stopping right here. I'm going to go down the spine, or the seam, whatever you want to call it, and then I'm going to stitch the other side. And then this time I'm going to exit this way, go around the block, around the Dresden's point, and then come down this seam because it needed to be stitched down anyway. Come over this way and now move on to the next. So I'm hoping you could see that these are feathers. I'm going to do one more and then I'll put it in fast forward. So again, I'm just coming out, flipping around, just hooking them. They're not bumped back, they're just traditional, easy, spaced out. And I don't have to go all the way to the top, so I can just follow that spine now and do the opposite side. So instead of going in, I'm going to exit out this way, stitch around the Dresden, and that way this seam gets stitched down, and move on to the next. And now I'm going to put you in fast forward for this. Okay, from here, I'm going to go back and start cross hatching, and I had to stitch in the ditch a little bit right here to hold this down, but I'm going to start the cross hatching now from this side and make my way over to the other side. So now that I've finished quilting all those, I'm just going to come up here in this ditch, about right there. I'm going to line my ruler up just like this, and you can see my 45-degree line is also lined up, as well as this line right here. So I'm just going to hold the ruler there and come down. I definitely do not do well with the ruler being held with my other hand, and I'm also having screen issues, so now I have to tap the screen every time I want to do something. So again, I'm just going to line it up. My 45 is lined up. Come right here. They're probably going to get off a little bit because of my angle. Now I'm just going to switch to this side where I could work with the proper hand until I can get to an area that is easier to work in. I'm hitting my tray again. This darn ruler base. Hold on, let's fix that. It's on there. I don't know why I keep hitting it every time I'm in the middle. And I'm having screen issues too. Today is just not my day on the long arm. It's funny. So I'm going to come down here. I'm just going to line this up. Just working very slowly and since this is going to cross over, I'm going to come down to where my ruler hits again and follow that through and come to the next. The other ones should line up when I get to them. I'm not going to go down with them just yet. For now, I'll just do this way. So I'm going to line this up. I'm going to turn the ruler so that I have a nice 45-degree line right here on the outer side. I'm going to stop right here, needle down, adjust the ruler, watching my 45-degree angle. And that's within my throat space, so I need to advance just a little bit. We're going to leave that right there. Alright, now let's line everything back up. I can see just a little bit of it up there, but my 45-degree line right here is lined up. I have to use this screen to do this because it's all messed up. So I'm going to stitch in the ditch now all the way around this. At least on this side where I'm stitching. Come back up. Stop about right here. Line up my next one. Again, I'm just going to line it up with the 45-degree line nice and straight, as well as my stitch line. And this one is messed up. Come on. So that was not supposed to happen, but I'm quilting backwards. It should all be straight now. This is just for an idea anyway. If it's not perfect, oh well. carefully stitch up. About right there. This way I don't have much ruler room because I definitely am in my throat space, so I'm just going to hold it here, cross over, and start going the opposite direction now. I'm just going to do this very carefully, because I, again, I'm holding the ruler the wrong direction with my hand, but I want it to be equal. You could pre-mark if you wanted. Which would probably be a little on the wise side to pre-mark things. I, on the other hand, did not think of it. So I'm going to go ahead and just put this in fast forward because technically you know what I'm doing. I'm cross hatching. quilted. At least I think the whole thing's quilted. I do want to point out that somehow along the way, right here, I managed to get crooked. But if that happens to you, don't fuss. Just let it be, because in the end, it's a quilt. And it doesn't really matter. Now does it? I just want to say, though, it happens, and I'm not going to unpick it to unveer it, because that would be this row, this row, this row, this row, this row, this row, until I get to this side where I can start straightening it back out again. So let's check over the whole entire thing before we pull it and make sure that I quilted everywhere, because I tend to, you know, not to get places sometimes when I'm trying to rush through things, which is what I was doing here for the video. So let me check over the whole thing. Make sure I got my hearts in my corners. I did my feathers. They're directional all the way around the border. I went around the border. I went around the center, which I did film in fast forward, but you can see all I did was go around the black area, just the lines, just to create this really cool thing. And then I echoed around that, just because, I mean, it has texture. It feels like little bumps, so. Okay, looks like everything is done. I went everywhere I could, and everything looks filled in there and there. And again, see, more wonky. I don't know what happens cross-hatching in tiny areas. It's just the way the ruler it happens. So let's pull this off and see what it looks like. Here is the finished wall hanging. So as you can see, I cross-hatched. I did not stitch in any of the white. I went around the border, which is hard to see. Let's see if I go this way. You could see the feathers. So just like the first one, except instead of like a heart in the center of the curve, I went with directional feathers instead. But the same thing around the outside. In the corners, there is a heart. Again, the feathers. I just pulled the feathers into the border, into the center, around the Dresden. So every 2 Dresden, since there are 20 blades, every 2 was turned like that. So you can see there's the cross hatching, and here's the back. Again, it's the same back as all the rest of them. On this one, you can tell that it's heavy quilting on this one, so you can tell that the front has a lot of backtracking just by the quilting on the back. You can see where all the backtracking was, and so on and so forth. And there we have it. So there it is. That's idea number 4, with cross hatching behind the Dresden and filling the Dresden blades in with feathers. So there we have it, folks. Hope you enjoyed. On to the next.